Hi, good morning,
Hi,
Katie.
good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. How was the rest of your winter vacation?
Really nice. Yeah, we got snow, which was fun, for us Californians. Is this? No, it was nice. Yeah. How was your break?
It was good. Yeah. Yeah, it was busy, but it was good.
Where were you?
We were up in Portland, Oregon,
Nice.
and
So pretty.
yeah, yeah, so we used to live there and
Oh,
yeah. So we're actually nomadic now. So we travel around and we pet sit. We stay in people's houses, but
fabulous.
yeah, it's great. But we were in Portland pet sitting for some friends actually, but it
Nice.
worked out great because we have family there and friends and
Yeah, that's like a second home.
yeah.
Well, pet sitting, I mean, I was just talking to someone about like leaving your animals. It's so hard, especially dogs.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So we
great.
we
You do
we
that.
pet sit for, hi Emily.
Hi.
We pet sit for whoever, whatever animals need it, but most of the people that put stuff up on the platform we use are for dogs.
Our dogs, yeah.
Or
They're like, I'll be fine. Yeah.
right. Or like a dog cat combo.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Keeping the
Um, yeah.
peace.
Yeah. So and it's fun to hi Robert.
Hi,
Uh
Robert.
it's fun to pet sit for people because like you said, it's so hard for people to leave their pets. And so I love being able to provide them with that feeling of comfort that their
For
pet
sure.
is okay.
That's huge. That's a gift. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we take it very seriously. We send pictures and we fall in love with like
I bet.
every time we go into a house with the animals, we fall in love with them and
I bet.
yeah, it's very fun.
That's awesome.
Um, so well, welcome everyone. And we'll go ahead and get started in just a minute. Just like the last one, I am recording this and putting it up for anyone who can't come, but we'll wait just for a second to see if anybody else is planning on coming. And the idea behind this call is, I keep it, I'm going to keep it casual, but the idea is just to have like an opportunity to check in and see how the challenge is going for you. And also to answer any questions. If questions have come up, I also prepared some stuff with, just typical questions that I feel like people come up when you're meditating, not necessarily as a new practice, but just in general. Um, so I have that to go through if we need it. And then we'll do a meditation. So let's see. So I am recording and yeah, so I would just want to say welcome to those of you who are here and also those of you who are watching this recording at a later time. And why don't we'll start with a mindful moment. So I like to start anytime I teach or anytime I have a one-on-one session or anything, I like to start with a mindful moment just to give everybody a chance to arrive mentally. So we're all here physically, but sometimes our mind is somewhere else. And so it's nice to have an opportunity to just take a couple breaths and arrive mentally and put an intention out there um of being present for the moments that we're together. So I'll invite y'all to close your eyes or cap them as I usually say, which is just gazing gently down at whatever's in front of you, the floor, table, chair, or a desk, whatever it is. And with your eyes closed or capped, I invite you to start becoming aware of just what you're aware of. So you might hear sounds, you might notice the temperature of your room, you might notice some thoughts that are going through your mind. And so without judgment, just notice those. And then bring your attention into your body, noticing where you're seated, feeling the support of chair, couch, or floor. And now I invite you to take a couple of nice, long, slow, deep breaths in. So breathing in through your nose and out through your nose or mouth, whatever's most comfortable. If it feels good, you can let your shoulders drop on your exhale. And taking another nice, long, slow, deep breath in. And full exhale out. Noticing what part of your body is moving with your breath today. And so these are mindful breaths. You can let your breath return to its natural rhythm, and we'll just sit with our breath for a few moments. And during this time, if you would like to set an intention for yourself, you can. It can be an intention for our time together, an intention for your day. And then when you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes. All right, so we'll move on to our next step in the call. So again, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here and thank you for sharing this time. And so I wanted to first just start with just checking in and seeing if anybody would like to share, you know, how things are going, what's bubbled up for you so far during this challenge. No pressure to share, but if anyone would like to, I would love to have a little opportunity to do that, and then we'll move into some Q&A. Does anybody would anyone like to share? Okay.
I can
Well,
I can go ahead and share. Annie, go ahead, please. Annie, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've done meditation off and on for several years, and I'm really trying to commit to a practice thanks to this accountability group and guidance from you, Katie. And so I have been meditating daily. Um, and I find it really being a useful tool for me to just sort of gather myself. And I think I referenced in our first call that I have anxiety. And so it's just a helpful like catch of that. And I have trying to been checking in. So I'm doing morning meditations. That's my time. And just like kind of checking in with myself later in the day when like, stuff still like my son gets home from school and it's that what's for dinner kind of time. And I've found myself definitely like less reactive, which is really something I want to keep striving for because I know in the classroom you have not just one kid, but upwards to 30, 35 kids who can all kind of like push on those reactive buttons. So yeah, it's been really nice. And I feel like I'll just say one more thing, the 12-minute is good because before this class I was doing 5 minutes and it always was just like, okay. And then another course I had a 20-minute meditation, which just I don't know, something about that felt like, whoa, I have to set aside all this time, but you don't really, because I can spend 20 minutes scrolling on my phone, no problem. But the 12-minute is a nice medium.
thanks for sharing.
Um,
Sure.
so I also felt less, well, I felt much calmer. My classroom is pretty crazy, and I have kids that um, intentionally hurt each other, and so it's a little more. There's only 12 of them, but we're also short-staffed this week. So I felt less. I felt myself much more um, able to not put myself, not make myself a part of it, but less personalized thing, which is, I think, key thing for me has been less personalized situations. Um, the I did tell a kid to shut up, which I did not feel good about. But I was able to let that go, and not feel so much shame around telling a little 10-year-old kid to shut up. And it's helping me also differentiate between the person, the being that's there, and their disability, because they're not their disability. They're the perfect person being that they are, and their disability doesn't define them. That's also something I've been struggling with. So thank you. I think that's it. I mean, I've been joyful for most of the week, which is great. I'm able to share that with my kids. I always feel like in elementary school, for me, either you're positive or you're negative as a teacher. And so trying to be positive with them most of the time is very important because they get a lot of other stuff during the day. So I think that's it.
Thank you for sharing.
Sure.
Emily, would you like to share?
Sure. Hello everybody. So I I was struggling with finding a consistent time. I think because my last week of break, I had a lot of sporadic plans, and so there was no consistent time. So I would find myself like, oh, what time am I going to do this today? And like we didn't have school Monday, so we started Tuesday, and then I didn't get in. I did some meditations, but I had told Katie already I had only done them like I've done like 4 or 5. I can't, and so it's not consistent every day yet. But this is my first time doing meditation. So it's a start. And it was on my mind. I just have to find my groove. So I have to find out um what time of day to be consistent. I have to figure that out. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing. Um,
I probably should have said this when I was talking. Sorry, Kate, Emily, thank you for sharing. But I have to leave pretty soon. We're going out with my family. So
oh, well,
uh,
thank you. Thank you for checking in.
I'm glad I could check in. Thank you,
Yeah.
and thank you, Emily.
Well, like I said, Robert, I am gonna post this call. So if you want to go back and watch the rest of what we talk about, then it's there for you. Before you go, let me ask this. Would y'all like for me to cut before when I post this call, would y'all like for me to cut out your personal shares for the people that come and watch it later, or does anyone have a preference about that? Okay. Okay, then I'll just leave
I'm
that.
good with either. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so does anyone have, so I have some slides that I'll share with you that are, like I said, just kind of general questions that come up, but does anyone have a specific question? I mean, actually, Emily, maybe I will quickly speak to what you were saying about finding your groove. So, where I'm coming from when I answer questions or talk about this stuff, I've been meditating personally myself for about 13 years. I've been through several trainings. I did a year-long meditation teacher training and a mindfulness in the workplace training and a yoga teacher training. I've done stuff like that, but I don't think that I have like an expert opinion here. So I'm just sharing from my own personal experience and from all of the things that I've learned. But one of the things that I feel like is really valuable to keep in mind about meditation and mindfulness is that there's almost no there's almost no circumstance where there's one right way to do something. there is research that shows, I mean, that's what I based this challenge on, is the research that Amishi Jha did about, the minimum effective dose of amount of meditation. There's research that supports things like that. But when it comes to a meditation practice, I personally feel like the best meditation is the one that you will do. I say that all the time. And so when it comes to cadence and finding your groove, that's absolutely personal, right? And you have to figure out what works best for you. What I have discovered for myself is that if so Deepak Chopra has this little like saying, I think, or I don't know the word for it, but it's RPM, rise, P, meditate. And he's like, get up, take care of your biology, but then meditate first thing. And that's basically what I try and do. And what I find is at the second my feet hit the floor for like my day to start, my chances of remembering to meditate, it's not that I don't want to, it's just that I don't remember, go, even when I put it in my calendar, go way, way down. So I try and do it first thing in the morning as often as I can. It doesn't always happen that way, but that has helped me. Now, my husband, he meditates right before he goes to sleep. So every night he meditates other times during the day, but he has like a consistent practice of like getting in bed and sitting up and meditating before he goes to sleep. That's how he's oh, sorry. I just have a doggy approaching. Um, that's how he's able to keep his practice by Robert. That's how he's able to keep his practice consistent. Um, and that being said, my meditation teacher says that when you meditate before, that meditation can sometimes energize you. And so she doesn't recommend meditating before bed. But for him, that's what works best for him. And so I think that that's the right time for him if that's what works best. So so Emily, you're absolutely right that you have to just find you have to find your groove. And one of my like one of the teachings in meditation that I find so valuable is Annie, I think you were speaking to this, or Robert was too, about, and Emily, you too, it's self-compassion. um Self-compassion and like patience and those types of things are such huge pieces of mindfulness. And when you that's one of the things you learn through meditation practice by refocusing your attention all the time. Your attention wanders and then you bring it back consistently, bringing it back. You're training your brain for that like redirection of attention. And we get to hear how we talk to ourselves when those experiences come up, because we are sitting quietly and we don't have as many distractions. All of a sudden we can notice, what do I do when I get frustrated? What do I say to myself? How do I respond? And we get to practice responding with self-compassion and gentleness um, when things like that happen. I just heard yesterday, I just heard this this man speaking to harshness. He was being interviewed on the Mel Robbins podcast, and he wrote a book and he was talking about his book, and it was like a little clip, and he said, there is nothing in life that can be achieved through harshness that cannot be as effectively achieved through gentle, loving firmness. So, we have this, I feel like in Western society, not just like America, but just Western society in general, we have a little bit of a like put on your big girl panties, like pull, the I can't remember what it is about like the bootstraps. So, but there's all these sayings we have that are like we need to like be tough with ourselves. And there is a lot of research that shows that you get more effective change when with gentle firmness. and with self-compassion and self-love for yourself and also with other people as well. And so that's something that, you know, might be a shift in the way that the way that we think about how we talk to ourselves and, you know, how we motivate ourselves. And so I often use, like when I'm talking to students, I use the terms inner coach versus inner critic a lot. So say like, you know, how can you shift your inner critic into your inner coach? Like think of if you are honest. I work with a lot of competitive um, child athletes. And so, like, what do your coaches say to you? How do they speak to you? And of course, some of them are like, well, sometimes they yell at me. I'm like, okay, let's think about the coaches that are that are supportive. What do they say to you? You know, and how can you turn that and say that to yourself? Um, so that being said, do you either of you have any specific questions before, and if not, then I can go into sharing a little bit of, okay. All right, so let me pull this up. Um, okay, so let's see. Yes. Okay, so a lot of times, you know, this comes up, this am I doing it right? I've already kind of addressed that, but there is no right or wrong in the world, in my opinion. There's no right or wrong in the world of mindfulness and meditation. Um, you know, some of these things like, am I supposed to stop thinking? That is actually the tip that I posted this morning for this week. And it also is part of the 5 essentials of meditation. So in the first checkpoint, maybe in the second checkpoint, I linked the 5 essentials, and one of them, I linked that and then a little bit of a deeper dive into them. So if anybody's curious, you can go back and look at those. But the idea behind thoughts and meditation is that our mind that is the nature of the mind to think. And so we're not trying to stop thoughts. We're trying to, most of the time, if you're doing a focused awareness meditation, we're trying to focus our thoughts. And so it's a training. It's a training of the mind of, you know, your mind wanders, bring it back. Your mind wanders, bring it back. And the cool thing about that is that that ripples out into daily life. So that's why meditation, some of the benefits of meditation are often said to help improve focus, help improve productivity, that type of stuff, because it trains your brain to focus, but it also trains you to notice when it's losing focus. And then you have a choice point and you can decide if you need to take care of that thing that's pulling at your attention or if you want to continue to focus. So distractions are never going to go away. And so it's more about our relationship with them. So this one, the some days feel calm and some days don't. Is that normal? Um, Very. So many things go into what impacting meditation. What you had to eat that day, are you tired? What's your pain level? What's going on in your life? My meditation teacher, her name is Sarah McLean. She has been meditating for like probably 40 years and she's been teaching it for like 30. And she told us this story when I was taking one of my classes from her, and she said she was releasing a book that week, and it was her second book. And she said, you know, my mind is all over the place. I'm worried, like, what if no one likes my book? What if no one reads it? What if people don't like it as much as my first book? And she said, so my meditations are, I'm very distracted during my meditations this week. And she said, and I want to share that because I've been meditating for 40 years and that still happens. And so I thought that that was a really helpful story to hear, and it just helped me normalize for myself, like, yes, you get more and more used to the process of meditation, but it's not like this ascent where you're like you get better. Now I'm better at it. Like everybody is good at meditation. There's no bad meditation as long as you're sitting and doing it. um and let's see. So my mind wanders constantly. Okay, so we kind of talked about that. Um, what should it feel like? So I think that there's we do talk about like, oh, when you meditate, you feel calmer, and that is a common experience, but there's no should. It doesn't have to feel like anything. And really, what I find is that most of the benefits are outside of meditation. Sometimes I have a really great meditation and like during the meditation, I'm like, oh wow, I feel so relaxed and calm, especially when you do something like a body scan or something like that. But really, what I find is that the meditation itself is what it is. Sometimes it feels great, sometimes it doesn't. But what I feel is like outside of meditation, I start to notice my nervous system is more settled. I have more access to patience. I have more access to responding versus reacting. And and again, those aren't shoulds, but those tend to be natural byproducts of a meditation practice. And so that being said, there's definitely no should. Um, and so, like this, am I doing it right? That's kind of where shame likes to sneak in. So that's a good thing to notice if we're shaming ourselves for like not doing something correctly. Um, okay, so speaking to time, consistency, calendars, stuff like that. Uh, I do feel like, sure, it's better to meditate every day if you can, but really, the benefits of meditation are cumulative. So you're not, if you miss a day, you don't need to start over. You just keep going. And so it's better to meditate some days than not do it. And it's, the more consistent you can be, the more um trained your brain becomes and the more responsive your nervous system becomes. But having a practice, the Amishi Jha research is that the most effective practice that they found was 12 minutes a day 5 days a week for 4 weeks in a row in order to start feeling the benefits, and that's not every day. And then she calls it the minimum effective dose, because then it's the idea is the more you meditate, the more benefit you feel, but you don't have to do it every day to feel benefit. So I think I told this before in our kickoff call, but the addressing the 5 to 10 minutes, is that actually enough? Um, yes, again, the 12 minutes of the research of her specific research shows that 12 minutes is great. I think you know you've got to start where you've got to meet yourself where you are and start with what works for you. And so like I have gone through phases, many different phases. I've gone through phases of meditating for 5 minutes, meditating for 30 minutes, meditating for an hour. I go in and out of different phases. But you know, when I was classroom teaching, I would try and meditate for about 10 to 15 minutes in the morning when I would wake up. But sometimes, sometimes I stayed up till 2 o'clock in the morning writing report cards, and I was not going to wake up 15 minutes early to meditate. And so I would drive to school, I'd get to school, and then I would go like, okay, I think I have a minute or two before I need to rush in. And I would sit in my car for somewhere between 2 and 5 minutes. And I would close my eyes and I would breathe, or I would listen to calming music, would do some sort of meditative activity. And it made a huge difference in my day. So I do believe that it is enough to do, shorter meditations. The time of day, I spoke to that before. I will say that what my teacher shares, her like ideal case scenario is to meditate on an empty stomach, because digestion does take digestion can cause distraction. And so she says that meditating in the morning or at like that happy hour time, like between, right before dinner, is really helpful for your focus because of the digestion piece. And so that's what she recommends. Ideal world, she recommends meditating twice a day, once in the morning and once during this happy hour time. But again, those are ideal case scenarios, and you have to figure out, and everybody's body is different, and so you have to figure out what works best for you. And so um, I don't believe that there's a specific time that you have to meditate. And consistency over length for sure. Okay, discomfort, restlessness, the body. So Um, I have two kind of like I've got what I've learned and then what my personal experience is with this. And so one of the other participants had asked about this earlier in the week, and so I put up a document about meditating, sitting up versus lying down, and like why it's recommended to sit up, but then also and some of the science behind like what happens in your body and your physiology and all that stuff. So that document is linked in the one of the checkpoints. Uh, but uh, in terms of restlessness and movement of the body, so one of the things that I've learned or I've heard people speak to is that during meditation, any movement of the mind or the body can indicate that stress is being released. Now, that's not a scientific claim, but it is a like a well-established kind of widely accepted interpretation in many contemplative traditions. And the idea is that when you become more conscious, so the nervous system, the stress and all of that stuff is not being suppressed. And so it's starting to move into that parasympathetic nervous system, rest and digest, and we become more conscious of it when we're meditating because we're drawing our attention to it. And so um, and so keeping that in mind, I feel like can change your relationship with the restlessness, and it can help you to accept it and notice it and let it pass without too much thought. Um, and so I always, just like to tell myself like, oh, cool, I'm releasing stress. Like I'm extra restless today. I must have needed to get something out of my nervous system that was suppressed in there. My personal experience is that over time, with practice and repetition, that your body will settle and get more used to meditating. However, just like thoughts are always going to be a part of meditation, restlessness is always going to be a part of meditation, depending on, factors like sleep and hunger and pain levels and things like that. Um, Discomfort is a little different. I think with discomfort, I definitely encourage people to try different positions and different tools. There's all kinds of different like seats and cushions and things like that that people use for meditation. Um, you can sit with your legs crossed, with your legs out in front of you. You can sit in a chair or on a couch with your feet on the floor. I really think that comfort is key in being able to meditate. And so, finding what's comfortable is really valuable. And then also, um, adjusting during a meditation. I say this in several places, but regulation doesn't necessarily equal distraction. So just, I often sit with my legs crossed when I meditate, and then halfway through, I'll sometimes just need to straighten my legs because my foot's falling asleep or something like that. And so just do that mindfully, kind of slowly so as not to jolt your nervous system. But that doesn't mean that you're distracted. And kind of two tricks that I've learned along the way is that if your legs are crossed, and your feet start to fall asleep, flexing your toes can help to um, help with the falling asleep feeling, or bending. You can't really tell, but I'm sitting cross-legged in the chair right now, and just bending forward helps a little bit. Like, so I'll just go very slowly down and up a couple times, and it opens the blood flow up in your hips. Or just going to the side and like lifting one knee and like one of your butt cheeks off of the ground and then doing that to the other side. And again, just slowly, but those are kind of little practical things that I've been taught along the way that help to open up blood flow. Annie, I see your hand.
Yeah, on the like get comfortable sitting. I my low back is really been bothering me. So I'm trying to do like more stretching in general. But I dug out, I've had this pillow for years. It was made by this Japanese woman in my neighborhood. She has a little store and it's just full of, I think, like buckwheat or something. It's pretty thin, but I've just been putting it at my low back to kind of offer that like support to stay up in it. And it's both comforting and like also useful to find myself like not wanting to slump because I agree with you in that like you don't want to get like sleepy comfortable, but you also really want to be comfortable for that 20 12 minutes, of just like trying to, work through like focus because there's a lot for me in meditation where like I want to, life is life. You're going to hear the train go by, the sirens, and so that's that. But like the interior for me is like really what I'm grappling with. Like I go into this mode of like creating to-do lists, like, oh, I really ought to write that person back, or oh, I didn't do that. And so like my practice in the last few weeks have just literally been like trying to get out of that like planning, executive functioning brain. And so when I find that there's something physical supporting me, like that pillow, I almost can kind of like let my mind go there, like, oh, that feels nice. And then like almost go back into the body. And of course, breath helps as well. But yeah, that's been kind of my practice of late is to not get into that like creating to-do lists and what can I do in my body. Like I feel like as I age too, like this is the year of the body for me. Like I'm really trying to get back to that space of like saying, the breath can really help you move through both discomfort in your body, but also the like constant planning mode that I get into when I'm finally like resting and meditation kind of gives it that like, kind of like get it out, and
Mm.
um another thing I'm just really like trying to do less of is the mindless scrolling on my phone. And so like having this mindful moment of like letting that kind of those like that need for something to just cascade away is also, I think meditation is going to really help me in that regard.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing
Yeah.
that. Yeah, one of the things that my teacher always says is, with the to-do list, she always says like if it's important enough, you'll remember it afterwards. And I really struggle with that one because I also go into to-do lists and I want to like capture it. And I really experiment with that one. Like, can I just let that go?
Yeah, like do you like when people are like, "Oh, write down your dreams when you first wake up." It's kind of that like sometimes I have really cool ideas when I'm meditating and I want to be like, "Ooh, I want to jot that down." But that's kind of yeah, that I think that's also a Western you mentioned that earlier, like our Western mindset, like, "Ooh, I got to get a to-do list and get that down." But like it feels okay to give yourself permission to be like, just let that yeah, you had that thought. Just
Yeah.
continue. Come back. Like you said earlier, come back.
What's meant for us will circle back. Yeah.
Yeah, circle.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing all that. Um, the the comfort piece too, like I said, that I have put a document in the checkpoint about sitting up versus lying down. The lying down is not like, against any sort of rule. It's just that our nervous system is trained that lying down equals sleep and sitting up equals alert. And so that's the, the main reason behind it. But there are times where lying down, if you're dealing with pain and you're doing a body scan or things like that, there are times where lying down can be appropriate. So if you're, curious, you can check more into that. So I'm noticing the time, so I want to make sure that we have time to do our meditation. So I'm gonna have a couple more slides of questions, and I'm just going to, so we've got, okay, so I'll just speak to them quickly, and not go necessarily through the whole thing. But this thoughts and emotions, and yeah, thoughts and emotions. Um, one of the things that meditation does, it can do, is it's like it can shine a spotlight on certain things because you're going inward and you're starting to notice, again, like I said, how you respond to yourself, how you talk to yourself and stuff like that, and it can bring up discomfort. I think, did I put, you know what, I'm going to speak to, I had that note on the other slide, but I'm going to speak to this. For people who have a background of trauma, okay, so emotional, mental, physical trauma, I have a course that I have purchased on trauma-informed mindfulness. I have not taken the whole course yet, but I've read some of the book by the guy who created the course. And so I'm not an expert with that, but what I will say is, there's this thing called the window of tolerance that he speaks to. And so sometimes when someone has trauma in their background, meditation can open up a door for those traumatic feelings and memories to flood in during meditation. And you often hear people say, like, stick with it. It's one of the things that I said, stick with it. But you hear people say, like, push through. And that's not necessarily healthy if you have traumatic experiences coming up during meditation. So, if that does happen, if you find that that's happening, there's this thing called the window of tolerance, and you have to kind of like, it can grow over time, but you have to kind of stay within that window of tolerance. And if you're if you feel like you're getting outside of that like bearable feeling, then the suggestion is to open your eyes and to regulate, and sometimes not to go back to the meditation if it doesn't feel like you can tolerate that. So, uh, one of my newer favorite sayings is that this yoga teacher said, when you breathe, when you pay attention to your breath, you're in the present moment because you can't breathe in the past or the future. And I feel like the same thing is true for bringing your attention to your senses. So, and that's, Annie, you were speaking to that, like with the noticing your body. Oh, this feels nice. Like I'm just bringing myself into the present moment. And so noticing something that you smell or something that you hear really helps to bring you in the present moment, because you can have memories of things that you heard or anticipation of something you might hear. But if you're really paying attention to a sound right now, like that's the present moment. You're in the present moment. And so with emotional emotions that come up and hard stuff and things that can feel traumatic, um, opening your eyes and bringing yourself into the present moment through either breath or body awareness. If body awareness does not activate the trauma, then it can be helpful because it tells your nervous system, I'm here, not there. Like I'm not in that place where that traumatic thing happened. I'm right here and it's not happening now. Because one of the things that can happen with our nervous system is that memories can activate the fight or flight response because our nervous system in our brain does not know the difference between like a memory and a present situation. It can respond or react just like it's going through that thing again. Same with like watching violent movies and violent TV shows, like your nervous system responds like it's happening to you. And so if you can remind your nervous system, like I'm right here right now, this is not happening, I'm in the present moment, then it can help to settle. And so when we shine that flashlight or spotlight things, that it can be difficult. And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes we want to sit with that, we want to sit with that feeling or that emotion, and you know you best. And um, so it's important to give yourself permission to exit a meditation if needed, or to push through if you know that, like, oh, I'm just having resistance because I'm having a busy day and I'm resisting, some resistance is coming up. I can push through that versus this is really uncomfortable and this is, re-traumatizing myself. I need to open my eyes and not think about that now. Um, so any questions or comments about that? Okay. All right. So guided versus silent. I mean, really, either. They're both meditations. One you're guiding yourself, one you're someone else is guiding you. I used guided meditations. I still use guided meditations, but I used guided meditations for probably the first couple of years that I meditated. And the only reason I shifted to silent meditations is because when I went through my meditation teacher training, she said one of the rules of going through the training is to meditate without guidance because she wanted us to be able to guide meditations. And so she said, what if you're somewhere where you don't have music or you don't have, access to a recording, then you need to be able to meditate and you need to be able to guide other people through a meditation if that's what you're doing. And so it was a learning of how to do that. But I don't think that there's like a better, one is better than the other. And let's see. Okay. This expectations versus outcomes is spoken to in the five essentials, and it's basically to release expectations, um, to not expect anything in particular, and just sit with the practice. And one of the things that I think is a really helpful thing that I've been taught is to think of meditation. I mean, this isn't very romantic sounding, but to think of meditation like showering and brushing your teeth. Sometimes you get up in the morning or before you go to bed, and sometimes you shower and like the shower feels so great, and I'm taking care of myself and brushing my teeth and this feels so great. And sometimes you just do it because that's our routine and that's what you do to care for your body. And so meditation can be the same way. Sometimes it can feel great, and sometimes it's just part of your routine, and you just do it because you know that it's beneficial. And so, all of these feelings of like, are these big things supposed to happen? Am I, what if I'm not feeling anything? You know, a lot of times it's very subtle. A lot of the shifts in meditation are subtle. They happen over time. And again, like I said, sometimes the benefits show up in other areas of your life, not just like on the cushion when you're meditating. Okay. So integration into daily life, I'm going to speak to that more in the tip for the next week. So I'll speak to that a little bit, but there's multiple ways that people use the word integration. One of them is like, how do I fit it into my actual like schedule? And one of them is like, how does it start showing up in my life? And I really like to speak to that second one, which is like, how does it show up in my life? Because that I feel like is, you know, that is when you start to go like, oh, okay, like I'm finding value in this practice because it's showing up as patience, or it's showing up as a pause. I'm able to pause. I'm able to make a choice. I'm able to regulate my emotions. um, I have access to that more easily. I mean, things like that. That is, you know, to me, what integration into daily life means is like I have this practice, but then I feel it in other places. And over time, that does start to become a natural byproduct of meditation. It's Everyone has like their own, like I said, speaking to the other one, like without setting up expectations, if I were to say like everyone's going to feel more emotional regulation, or everybody's going to be able to like respond versus react, those are just common things that people experience, but it's different for everybody. Some people, the biggest piece has to do with the self-compassion or just the patience with oneself that then ripples out into patience with their students at school. So there's all kinds of different ways that integration can, or that, sorry, that meditation can integrate into your daily life. Okay, so I kind of rushed through those last couple of things. Does anyone have questions before we meditate?
Not a question, but I did my meditation this morning, so I'm gonna hop off as well. But I wish your session to be peaceful and wonderful. I think just one thing that's coming up is a little bit of like bringing this into the classroom. If you have any good resources for meditation with kids, I
Mm,
would do as when I was the garden teacher, I would do sit spots, and so it was focused on like the five senses. But I had a ulterior motive of saying, we need to have some quiet time in this. School can be loud, school can be noisy, your
oh
mind
yeah.
is always going on. So it was really, really neat to see that those take place. But I'm looking and for always, trying to bring it to the kids too. So yeah.
What age do you teach?
I'm currently a student teacher, so I'm really with the upper elementary, so third, fourth, fifth, and I think,
Okay.
as I look for my permanent placement, that's where I want to be. But
Okay.
I'm still
Because
open.
I have lots of resources, lots of kids stuff, so I can send you some stuff kind of keeping in mind that upper elementary.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
but open to all. Katie, thank you so much. This is
Yeah,
great
thank
work.
you.
Emily, good to see you. How's Chicago?
Good. It's good.
It's good.
Especially, yep, the Chicago Bears won their playoff game last night. So
Goodness, good for
that was
you.
that was
Yeah,
exciting.
that's
Yeah.
and Emily and I went to college together, and we
Yeah.
went to college in IU, and IU is about to play
In the
um
national
in the national
national cha
Mm.
championships for football, which
How
I
fun.
don't know. Emily, have you ever been a football fan? Like, I've never been a football
No.
fan, but
Not
we
really,
I
are just
no.
now that
crazy over this.
I have
Okay, so what I had planned was the meditation that I put up for this week, and so I'll share that with you. So it's a mantra meditation. So the first week was a breath awareness, second week was a body scan. This week is a mantra.
Mhm.
So a mantra is, are you familiar with that term?
I'm really familiar with the term, but I don't know about for
Okay.
meditation.
So it's basically it's a word or phrase or syllable that is repeated in the mind. And
Okay.
so you use it as your point of focus. And so some people like to use English phrases. Some people but like traditional mantra meditation is Sanskrit sounds. And the reason I think so Sanskrit is the language of like of the Hinduism and yeah, I don't want to speak to this improperly, but like Om is a Sanskrit sound, is a Sanskrit
Oh,
mantra.
okay.
So people I think a lot of times people like to use them because English phrases carry associations and meaning and stuff. And so we can get caught in like the thought of like analyzing, what does this mean to me? And sometimes
Hmm.
that's great. Like sometimes I'll do a meditation where it's like I'm breathing in peace, I'm breathing out frustration, I'm breathing in peace,
Hmm.
and I'll use that as a mantra. I do that with kids a lot. Like, what do you want to breathe in? What do you want to breathe out? And we'll do,
Hmm.
or I'm breathing in calm or, things like that.
Hmm.
But I really love using Sanskrit mantras because you can just focus, it gives your mind something to focus on. It gives it like a landing place, but you can focus on like the sound more than the meaning.
Hmm.
And so the mantra that I chose for this week's meditation is so hum, and it means I am that. So it's just a reminder of like presence, like I am, you know, I am
Hmm.
here, I am present, I am connected.
Hmm.
And I like to know the meaning because I don't want to be saying something that I don't know the meaning of, but I don't focus on the meaning, I focus on the sound. And so that one's a nice one because you can connect it with your breath, and some people like that and some people don't. And so this will
Hmm.
be an experiment to see, for yourself, do I like that or not? So I often, my typical morning meditation that I've been doing, like I said, I go in phases, but I've been doing this one for about 2.5, 3 years. I use a mantra.
Hmm.
And it's Rama Da Sa Sa Se So Hung. So it's several sounds. And so I don't connect it with my breath because that's
Hmm.
so I just repeat it, and a lot of times like I'll repeat it and then it sort of starts to fade off, and it just kind of like fades into the background, but that's what I focus on. The so hum is kind of cool because when you breathe in, you can kind of like almost hear like the sound, the so, and then the hum on the exhale. You can kind of like attach it to your breath and almost hear that sound in your breath. And so it's HUM is the way it's spelled.
Hmm.
I've heard it pronounced hum, hum, home, and hung. So I've heard it pronounced all these different ways. I tend to say like almost like home, HOME, like so home, like that.
Okay.
And so we'll just use that as our focus.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
So and
Oh,
I
and here's Ruby.
Hi Ruby, you gonna meditate with us? Yay.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so I'm just gonna get
Since I'm record, can I just go off camera too? Because it's
yes.
easier. It'll be
Yes, you can go off camera
okay.
and I will set a timer. So I'm not going to use a bell for this because the Zoom setting cuts it off. But in the
Okay.
recording, there's a bell, but I will just set a little timer here for 12 minutes and we'll do it.
Okay.
Okay, so you can go ahead and shut off your camera and I'll shut my camera off as well. Let's see. There we go. All right, and so as you start to settle into your seat, make sure that you are comfortable, as we talked about earlier, just adjusting if you need to, and you know, resting your hands comfortably wherever feels good. And so I invite you to close your eyes or cap them, looking down at the space in front of you. And take a moment to notice where you are. So just noticing where your feet are placed, noticing what's supporting you, or bringing ourselves into this moment and into the body. If you notice moments where your eyes want to open or you need to move or adjust, feel free to do that. And so we'll start the meditation, like I said, without a bell, but we'll go ahead and start it now with a couple of nice, long, slow, deep breaths. So I invite you to take a nice, long, slow, deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose or mouth. There is some research that shows longer exhales activate the vagus nerve and send signals to the brain that you are safe. And so it helps calm the nervous system. So if you breathe in on your next inhale and then breathe out intentionally a little bit longer, that can also help to settle your body a little bit. So after your next breath, you can let your breathing return to its natural rhythm and depth. And so we'll start with a short body relaxation. So I invite you to bring your attention to each area, inviting softening in where it's available. And if an area doesn't want to relax, let it be as it is. That's okay. We'll start by softening the forehead and the eyes. Unclench the jaw. And let your shoulders drop a little bit. And feel your arms and hands wherever they might be resting. Bring your attention to your torso, noticing your chest and back. And the belly is often a place that we hold tension, so softening the belly. And then feeling the support under your hips, And so we'll now introduce the mantra. So, like I mentioned, the mantra is a place for your mind to rest. So, it's a thought that you can give your mind and repeat it over and over, giving your mind something to rest on. So, no need to force concentration on it. You can let it be gentle, almost like a whisper in your mind, but we're giving it a simple place to rest. So, the mantra for today is so home. And so, on the inhale, you can silently repeat so, and on the exhale, silently repeat home. So home. If it helps, you can imagine that the mantra is floating on the breath. So on the inhale, home on the exhale. And so we'll do a few rounds together, and then I'll leave you in quiet practice. And I will keep track of the time and check in periodically to let you know how things are going, where we are in the meditation, and just to check in with your focus. And so again, the mantra is so on the inhale and home on the exhale. So home. You might find that attaching the mantra to your breath brings extra attention to your breathing. Just remember there's no certain way you need to be breathing. Just a gentle breath. Noticing also if your thoughts drift away to planning or analyzing. When you realize it, just simply return it to the mantra. So home. If you find yourself expecting something or waiting for something to happen, that's just another opportunity to return your attention when you notice to the mantra, assuring yourself there's nothing to figure out or no particular feeling you should feel. As long as you keep coming back to the mantra, you're doing it correctly. So home. And so for the last minute of the mantra practice, allow a little more space around it. So the mantra can stay, but if it's faded into the background at all, or it feels a little quieter or less distinct, just let it be that way. No need to bring it back to the foreground. And now I invite you to gently release the mantra, let it fade, and sit in the quiet that remains, breathing naturally, simply present in this moment. And so, as we bring this meditation to a close, I invite you to bring your awareness back to the space around you and remain with your eyes closed for a few moments. This is called the integration period, just allowing the practice to land. You might like to take a slightly deeper breath in, a longer breath out. This is a nice time to bring movement back to your body, wiggling your fingers and toes a little bit. It's always nice to open your eyes slowly at the end of a meditation, allowing the nervous system to stay settled. And so when you're ready, you can slowly and gently open your eyes. All right, and that brings us to a close.
Great. So nice. It's relaxing.
Um, Good. Well, let me thank you for being here today. Let me stop the recording here.